Good morning, everybody. 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning, January 29th. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. This morning, we are following some of your headlines on the national scale. Border Czar Tom Homan is in Minneapolis right now. He is holding not an investigation, but a press conference that just wrapped up. We will play that for you here in its entirety in just a few minutes. But of course, this is in the days following the latest shooting of Alex Preddy last weekend. He will speak on immigration and Border Patrol agents and the latest actions that the Trump administration is looking for when it comes to improving the Department of Homeland Security. Also, speaking of immigration, ICE, we are learning, had lodged a detainer on a suspect, the driving suspect that killed a Rowan couple on January 16th. This was for Juan Alvarado Aguilar. They had issued a detainer on him days prior to the DWI crash that killed the North Carolina couple. And in their article for the press release from the Department of Homeland Security. They actually cited our reporting here on WCNC Charlotte. Today, of course, is the one-year anniversary of the DCA crash that happened, a mid-air collision out of Washington, D.C. over the Potomac near Ronald Reagan Airport. Our Vanessa Rufus did speak to the surviving family members of one of the crew attendants, the flight attendants. This Charlotte-based American flight crew was involved in the crash that killed 67 people. And of course, we are tracking snow this weekend. Yet another weekend for some potential not precipitation, because that sounds like it is going to be a sure thing, Majestic, but snow instead of ice. That's what we're happy to hear about.
Yeah, winter storm system. We're confident now on Saturday that we'll have snow.
Snow, yay!
So a snow day on Saturday. We've been talking about this all day long on the morning show, of course, and I think kind of the silver lining, whether you like snow or you don't, is that this is happening on a Saturday. Lots of kids, of course, not going to school on a Saturday. A lot of people don't have to go to work. Not everyone, but the majority of people at least have Saturday off of work. So this could be a snow day where you're at home, you're watching the snow fall, you're taking the kids outside, maybe taking the dogs for a walk. Maybe you just want to, I don't know, eat your favorite soup or something, have a book, and just cozy on up. The timing of this is going to be nice. So let's talk about a few different things, because I would say, because I like snow, Saturday's forecast is going to be great with those snow totals starting to increase just a bit. But truthfully, the dangerous part of our forecast will be the really cold air. All right, so let's get straight into it. Today's going to be another mild day. Tomorrow you can plan for that as well. So Friday, cloudy skies, 43 degrees for our high. We will not have impacts on Saturday until well after sunset and into the overnight hours. But waking up on Saturday, I think you should be prepared for snow to be falling. I'm imagining having a hot cup of coffee, seeing that snow fall outside. This is going to be that very light, fluffy snow that really starts to accumulate really quite fast. 26 degrees, though, for overall high temperature on Saturday. It is going to be snowy. We can check that box. We know it's going to be cold. And it's also going to be windy. The wind is going to be a factor in our forecast as well. Around 25 mile per hour wind gusts or so in and around Charlotte. Much stronger winds to the east of us, and even higher snow totals to the east of us. So Saturday, plan for your snowy day. The good news with this very light, fluffy snow is that it's great snow for sledding and sending the kids out to play. Get them all bundled up, send them out to play. I used to love playing out in the snow for hours. And it's also good for removal. So whether you need to take the snow off of your car, you want to just, I don't know, shovel your driveway or your sidewalks, that type of thing, it's not going to be super, super heavy. Then on Sunday, we are still weather alert. Not because we'll have more snow. The snow will be done by Saturday night. But then we're transitioning into just very, very cold conditions. We will see temperatures drop below freezing. Friday night, we will stay below freezing throughout the entire weekend and into early next week. So stay close to our weather team. We will be here covering everything for you. And at this point, we are confident snow is going to fall on Saturday. So start planning for that. And like I mentioned, most people don't have tons of places where they absolutely have to be. But of course, we know some of you, you're essential workers. You have to be out on those roads. So plan for extra drive time. I think snow personally is a lot easier to drive on compared to ice. You'll just want to make sure you have plenty of time to get to where you need to be. So Saturday, snow. Back behind it, very cold conditions. The National Weather Service already has issued winter storm watches starting on Friday, continuing through Sunday afternoon. I mean, we're going to see millions of people impacted by this very strong storm system. You can see the entire state of North Carolina is under that winter storm watch. Even South Carolina to the north of us, I mean, we are really going to see those great impacts when it comes to snow. So planning ahead, we always like to give you several days notice, and now we can confidently say that this is going to be a snow day on Saturday. So let's talk about the winter weather impacts. So areas shaded in red, that's where you will have high impacts when it comes to winter weather. Areas shaded in orange, once you head a bit more northeast, calling that medium. And then this this is interesting. If you're up in the mountains, more lower impacts, because this is a true nor'easter setup. I'm not saying you won't get any snow in the mountains. That's not the case at all. But the greatest snow totals will actually be just to the east of us. Check this out. This is kind of our weekend storm system and what we're looking at closely. So the heavier snow in and around Charlotte, and then mainly to the east of us, right along I-95 corridor and heading east. Lighter snow, but still pretty widespread off to the north and to the west of us. Again, we're watching two different bulks of energy. One will be coming in from the northwest, and then really it's this coastal low that's going to bring us that winter weather. Again, we're still tracking the scenario, the track that this low is going to take, but we're getting increasingly more confident that it's going to track a little bit more west, which means our overall winter impacts, talking about snow, it's increasing. Let's get straight to the futurecast. I know a lot of people like to look at the futurecast because you want to time things out, you want to know when the snow's coming, and I have this one because we're also looking at temperatures too. So again, no problems today. Friday afternoon we'll start here, 2 o'clock. In the mountains, you will start to tap into some of this moisture. Temperatures across the board, cold. I mean, we're going to be settled into the 20s and 30s. We'll get a little bit warmer for our daytime high, but overall just a cold day. By Friday night, still seeing a lot of that moisture up in the mountains, so northwest of Charlotte. This is 8 o'clock on Friday. Then we start to see the snow ramp up from that coastal low. So waking up Saturday morning, you will be waking up to snow around Charlotte and mainly to the north and to the west of us. So depending on what time you wake up, expect snow to be falling on Saturday. If you had plans Saturday for the first half of the day, it will be snowing. Saturday into the afternoon, the snow will likely still be ongoing. Let's fast forward into that 9 o'clock hour. So maybe you like to sleep in until 8 or 9 o'clock. Maybe the kids wake you up earlier. At this point, almost our entire viewing area has snow on the ground. Now, we're not saying that this is going to be really heavy snow that's going on for hours and hours, but we will have a huge majority of Saturday, a huge window where that snow will be falling. So even if it's light snow, it'll have several hours to accumulate. Here's 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday. Some people were thinking they were flying out of town. You have someplace to be. I mean, this is when we could start to see some of the heaviest bands of snow. Whenever you look at Futurecast and you see darker blue, that indicates darker blue indicates heavier snowfall. So I'm really saying that as we're heading towards Saturday afternoon. 5 o'clock on Saturday, right around dinner time or so. Maybe you had something to do for your Saturday night. At this point, we're starting to see the snow let up just around the I-40 corridor out towards Morganton and Hickory, but it's still widespread across Mecklenburg County. And then by 9 o'clock, the snow is basically tapering off. But remember, we started this waking up early on Saturday, so the majority of our Saturday we will have snow falling. That's what we're preparing you for on Saturday. It's our snow day, so you just gotta get ready for that. I know lots of you have been wondering about the totals. Of course, we kind of wait as long as we can to really fine-tune the forecast so that we can be as accurate as we possibly can be, but we're finally releasing our snow potentials today. Around the Charlotte metro area, we're confident that we're getting an inch of snow. I mean, that is definite. The thing is, we think we could see more than that, 2 to 5 inches of snow in and around the Charlotte metro area. If you're watching in an area where it's dark blue, it's not out of the question to see multiple inches of snow accumulate throughout the day on Saturday. Little less to the southwest of us, but like I mentioned earlier, we'll see the greatest impacts to the east of Charlotte, mainly east of I-95. And this is that light fluffy snow. We know it's going to be cold and snowy, but it's also going to be windy. Remember that. So even if you have to drive somewhere or you feel confident driving with a few inches of snow on the ground, consider that that wind is also going to make for drifting and blowing snow at times, so it could really reduce down visibility as that snow continues to fall throughout the day. So that's our snow potential for now. Again, we will continue to hone in as much as we can as we get closer, but at this point, everyone, get ready for that snow on Saturday. Outside right now, looking at good mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures 29 degrees, feeling like we're into the low 20s. Overall today for our Thursday, quiet but still cold, only 11 degrees there in Jefferson, seeing 28 degrees there in Charlotte. Hourly forecast, if you have plans for your Thursday, I think we'll have more cloud coverage today compared to yesterday and still below our average. Remember, we should be into the low 50s. High temperatures today will be slightly cooler than yesterday with low 40-degree temperatures for our daytime highs. 41 here in Charlotte, 30 degrees is where you'll top off today there in Boone, and then as we're heading down across South Carolina, mainly low 40s. So we're prepared for the snow. We're prepared for the wind, but truthfully, I think the most dangerous part of our forecast this weekend isn't the snow. I think it's really that blast of freezing cold Arctic air. We're going to feel that, remember, dropping below freezing Friday night, staying below freezing all throughout the weekend, and then boy, Monday morning, that is really going to hurt because it's going to be so cold. 43 on Friday for our high. High temperature Saturday, only 26 degrees. High temperature on Sunday, 29. I think by Monday afternoon we'll be a couple of degrees above that freezing mark, but look at our overnight lows. Heading out the door on Monday into the single digits. So what that tells me is any snow that falls, it's not going to just melt the next day. Even if we have just a little bit of snow, a couple of inches, that is going to stick around for several days. I think the upside is that the snow falls on Saturday. That'll give crews to get out and to treat the roads for 2 straight days. So all of Saturday, all of Sunday, and then for those of you who do have someplace to be on Monday, at that point, I think hopefully roads are looking okay. We're just going to have to really watch for some of those roads that haven't been treated yet, and then I think the bigger concern becomes bursting pipes, bursting water lines because of how cold it's going to get. Here's our Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast. Remember, our average high is 53 degrees this time of the year. We're forecasting 41 degrees today, 43 tomorrow. So if you want to go to the store, you need to grab a few things, you don't really want to be out on the roads when it's snowing, now's the time to do it because Saturday's our snow day. 2 to 5 inches for most of us is what we're looking at. 15 degrees overnight, so waking up on Sunday, it's going to be cold, but this is one of my favorite forecasts actually because when you have snow on the ground and then you have sunshine, it is so pretty the next day. So Sunday is going to be actually a really pretty day, but definitely a cold one. And then Monday morning, single digits, 8 degrees right now. So that's problematic, and that's why we're going to stay weather impact alert through Monday because of that blast of really cold air.
All right, so no snow on Sunday.
No, we will be done with the snow by Saturday night.
All right, so they need to clear those roads out because I do need to be on the road on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then need to, of course, come here on Monday. So
yes, yeah.
Hopefully.
I think that's what I was kind of saying is at least it's on a Saturday. Last time we had a big snow event like this, it was on like a Wednesday. I think it was a weekday where it was very problematic, lots of headaches because people are just trying to get places. And at least on a Saturday, you can kind of just cozy
enjoy
in.
that day.
Yeah, like. You just can't really, if you don't like traveling, you don't have to necessarily go anywhere on Saturday, hopefully.
All right. Yeah, exactly. But those single digits, not a fan of that. Not a fan of that.
Not a fan.
All right. Majestic, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
All right. We will look forward to that. Take it easy, everybody. And we are going to take a little break here on Live Impact News at 9:15. You're watching WCNC Plus. Time right now is 9:17 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Today is the 1-year anniversary that the DCA midair collision happened, and that involved an American flight crew based in Charlotte. Tonight, we have an exclusive interview with one of the crew members' family. This is Ian Epstein, and our Vanessa Rufus sat down with their family, who were so candid about how they're doing a year later. We want to play a little excerpt from that interview now for you here. This is the ex-wife of Ian Epstein, and she thinks about what the past year has been like and the expectations moving forward on this 1-year anniversary.
It's trauma-based because you remember last year. Only this year it's a little worse because it's real. You're never going to see him again. So, gearing up, it's really important for us, for him to be remembered. We do that daily, though. But it's important to let other people know that who he was, what he stood for. But it's hard. I mean, it's going to be a hard week going to D.C. back to where it all happened, just a short year ago.
Yeah. I mean, you were telling me that American Airlines is flying all of the families of the folks who perished in this collision. Do you know anything about that gathering? Do you have any expectations for what that might be like when you go?
Yes. So we have actually two things. The first day there is a Heroes event, and that was planned by the families of the passengers and the crew, and it's to honor people who actually were there for us in different capacities. A lot of the first responders, I would imagine, will be honored at that event, and that's not done by American Airlines. And then on the 29th, we actually have a whole day that's set up by American Airlines. They're flying 6 family members in for each passenger or each crew member. They have a whole day kind of set up for us. We will be going down to the site again, so there is a site visit for us. There's a potential on the water visit to the actual real site, which we didn't get to do that, of course, last year because they were still in recovery mode, but that I think will be probably the hardest for us all to do. We were told that the vessel that they'll be using was the vessel that they used as a staging point for the divers bringing stuff and having their rest on that vessel. So it's kind of very meaningful, I think, to anybody that would be going that day. And then that night, there's the 1-year event that they're throwing for all of us that night. So I think it's going to be a long, hard day.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine the emotions that are coming, on that specific day. I think too, when we were talking over the phone, you're telling me what's happened over the past year, just in your family, and kind of some of the memories that Ian wasn't physically able to be present for. Right. I can imagine that's another element of this.
There's a lot of elements, and that's what people don't realize. As a family, we were having one of the happiest days of Hannah's life just 8 weeks after the crash, when she was marrying Josh, and he wasn't going to be there. And we would always joke, everybody saw his personality through the crash when he went viral and all his singing videos, and that's really who he was. So our biggest fear at her wedding was with him, how are we going to grab the microphone away from his hands? And now it went into, he's not even going to be there at all. So that was a really difficult day. We honored him in a lot of subtle ways on that day, but it was very difficult. It was not the same that it would have been without him there. And then in June, we all sat around as a family. We knew that it was going to be very difficult in December, especially leading up to the 1 year being right after that. But his birthday is in December, December 15th. So as a family, we said, what do we want to do? And the kids immediately, they remembered a time when we went to Disney World together when they were really young, and they were like, we want to go back to Disney World. He loved Disney World. It was like his favorite place to go to. We went there so many times. We lived in Florida, so we went all the time to Disney World, even before we lived there. And he was like the biggest kid in Disney World. He would wake everybody up with a cup of coffee and, telling the kids the mouse, we're here to see the mouse, hurry, wake up. So we did that in his honor. And in his memory, and it was hard at times, but we also knew that he would really like the fact that that's how we chose to honor him, for his birthday and for the first year. And then A lot of what we do, we actually give out gift cards every time we fly to the crew on board the aircraft that we're flying on in his honor. It's something that he and I used to do all the time when we flew together. A lot of people forget the crew and that they're there for a lot of reasons, and safety is a big part of it. So we like to give out a gift card, and it has his name on it, and smile often, because that's the message he used to tell everybody, was if everybody was just a little kinder to everybody else, the world would be a better place. So to smile as much as you can. So we give those out to the crew because they're like family. They really have become really close to us. They have done a lot for us over the past year. We've become really good friends with a lot of them.
What was the response? I'm just curious, when the crew gets these gift cards, and no doubt they've heard the story, but know that you're trying to honor Ian. You were telling me a lot of them kind of know him already.
They do. It's actually kind of wild. So he worked for the regional of American Airlines PSA, but mainline people, I can't tell you. I go on a lot of mainline flights, and I give them the cards, and they. It runs the gamut of how they feel. But a lot of them get really hit with it because they used to commute to work on a plane that he was working as the flight attendant. So many of them knew him, and they're just overcome with like appreciation that we're keeping him alive, number one, and his legacy going. They really appreciate that. They're very appreciative that we're taking care of them, because they very much feel like they should be taking care of us as a family. But we do know that they also are going through this tragedy right along with us, because they face it every day, getting on a plane. So there's a lot. I've met some wonderful pilots. They've taken me into the cockpit to talk to me and meet us, and just, one pilot came when we flew to Disney World, he actually came and grabbed us because he lives in the neighborhood. We didn't know that. And he knew Ian, and he was going to play golf with him. And unfortunately, the tragedy happened before they got to go play golf. But he worked with PSA now. He's mainline. So we've really just met a lot of great people, a lot of great flight attendants, a lot of great pilots.
And you referenced the fact that there are a lot of videos that folks have seen of Ian, just kind of showing his personality, and I think people really gravitate to what they saw in those videos. You're saying that's all exactly who he is.
That's exactly who he was. Any joke that you heard on the plane or heard in the videos, they were tried on us, mostly Hannah, because that's just what he did. She was the daddy's girl, and he really tortured her with a lot of the jokes that he would give. So she got that a lot. But that's who he was. He was always singing. He was always joking. He was always happy. Sometimes to the extreme, but that's just who he was. But it really, went far when he was on a plane with people, and that's just who he was. He was just a happy person, and he liked to spread that happiness around. And it was nice to see. I remembered a lot of the pictures that I started seeing come out. He had sent those to me. So there was a picture of a little redheaded child, and I remember the day when he actually sent me that picture. And he was just so excited, look at this little kid that was on the plane with me that day. And he just really, he liked that, and he liked helping people however he could.
And that was our Vanessa Rufus talking to Deborah Epstein, the mother of Ian Epstein's children and ex-wife. They are there in the D.C. area now, commemorating the one-year anniversary of the mid-air collision that happened right out of Ronald Reagan Airport. The American-based crew based in Charlotte. It's had an impact on our community and certainly the family of Ian Epstein. Vanessa's exclusive interview with the Epstein family is exclusive to WCNC Plus. You can only watch that here at 9 o'clock tonight. Hopefully you have some time to check that out. And we'll take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, we are back here now on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We are at the end of January, so you know what that means. Valentine's Day just around the corner. So many of you are probably planning the big day, maybe planning some flowers for that someone special. However, the Better Business Bureau is warning us that scammers are out there as well, and they're ready to pounce, targeting those last-minute shoppers. This morning, to help us stay protected is Juliana O'Rourke from the Better Business Bureau here in the Live Impact Studio. Juliana, how's it going?
Good. How are you, ladies?
Good,
Warm,
good.
hopefully?
We're doing great here. As you know, the Valentine's, the sweeties time is upon us. But what are we talking about with these florists? What's happening?
Yeah, so anytime there's a holiday, big event, we know scammers like to come out of the woodwork, or honestly, they're always around. And so they just focus on what they know people are also focusing on. And so this time of year, especially, we know people order a lot of flowers, and obviously that's a big gift item for Valentine's Day. And so you want to be really careful, especially if you're somebody that's waiting till the very last minute to order flowers. Maybe a local florist can't do the delivery in time because you've waited a little too long. So you go online, find a website that looks legitimate, you place an order, and unfortunately it's either not a legitimate website. And so there's a couple different outcomes that can happen. So first, maybe you get flowers but they're not exactly what you actually ordered, or you don't really get them at all. Or you can place an order and then they reach out to you and they say, oh, we actually don't have that, so now these are your options. They're more expensive. So lots of different things that could kind of happen, but basically what happens is these are lookalike websites that scammers are building with no intentions of really ever to deliver flowers. They're going to take your money, they're going to take your information, and then unfortunately your loved one or the individual you're buying these flowers for is going to also be out.
Oh, sad.
Yeah.
How can people protect themselves then, because they do look so legit?
Yeah, so you're always going to want to research any website that you've never shopped on before. So go into Google, go into ChatGPT. Hey, what's this website? How long have they been around? Throw the word customer review after there, maybe complaint or the word scam to see what people are saying. We know that consumers go to the internet to talk about really great experiences or really poor experiences. So do that first, just before you make any purchases or orders, because people will have something to say about most companies. And if you can't find anything at all, that's going to tell you pretty much enough too that, nobody's ordered from here. People aren't familiar with this site, and maybe you want to be a little more cautious and look for something different.
So then what about finding a good price and that it might be too good to be true? What is that telling you?
Yeah, that's just it too. So most of the floral sites that you'll find online are fairly comparable within a range of, what you're specifically looking for. And so if you find a website and the prices are substantially lower than others, you would also know that's a red flag. Hey, it's too good to be true, because it is.
Yeah, because this is Valentine's Day, and that's when
Right.
the flowers are not going to be cheap.
Well, that's just it, right? So you may be able to find flowers on websites where they're typically, a fairly reasonably priced, but Valentine's Day, they might jack up those prices a little bit because they can, and people are still going to pay it.
Sad. Is there a flower, I don't know, a flower that you could order that you feel safe about ordering?
Yeah, so look, check out bbb.org to see what floral shops are on there. I know obviously there's always some big names that are pretty well known across the country, and so I think some of those are a little bit more comfortable to be ordering from. But whenever you do order from a website, also make sure to check out, hey, when you placed your order, what is their delivery timeline? Can they deliver next day? We've had people report to us they submitted an order on a website, they specifically had it being shipped to a certain address, and then as soon as they placed the order, all of a sudden the company says they can't deliver to that particular address, and you should be able to find that out before you place the order. I know I've ordered flowers for people in the past, and I've thrown in their zip code, and they might live kind of in the middle of nowhere, and they'll say like, hey, we can't deliver to them, or unfortunately the same day or next day delivery is not available. It's going to take us a couple more days. So you want to pay attention to stuff like that too, so you actually know, is it going to be delivered when you want it to be or on time?
Oh, right. You don't want to get the flowers late there too. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, then why bother?
Right.
All right. Besides florist scams, that's not the only thing that's on the BBB's radar. These cold temperatures, we've been talking about it. The girls, we don't like it, do we,
No,
Carly? No,
we don't.
not at all.
We're not fans.
Not fans at all. But talking about some of these utility scams, how do these work?
Yeah, so unfortunately, especially because it's been so cold recently, this is when utility scams typically come up. When it's really hot, really cold, it can be a water company, gas, electric, you name it, any type of utility company. And essentially, you'll get a text message, a phone call, perhaps even somebody showing up at your door, and they will say that, hey, you have not made your payment. You need to make your payment now within the hour, otherwise it's going to be shut off. We'll cut your services. And so any of those really heavily pressured sales tactics should be red flags for people, regardless of how they have approached you, because none of the utility companies are going to do that to you. I know especially Duke Energy has spoken out about this. We've actually partnered with them back in November for Utility Scam Awareness Day. We just want to make sure people know that this is happening. And so, especially if somebody comes to your door, I always just say, if you don't know them, don't answer it. But definitely don't let people in your house, because they could potentially also want to say, hey, we can replace your equipment, we can do this, that, or the next. And it's really just a ploy to get more money. Also, by letting somebody in your home, if they see certain things out, maybe bills or any type of personal information, they can take advantage of you that way and trying to take that information from you. So you just want to be really careful, but keep in mind that these companies will not shut your power off within an hour. It's just not how they operate.
Oh, that is good to know. So that immediate threat of shut off, because that is what we fear, right?
Yeah.
So don't pay anyone at that time.
Exactly. And so, share this information with your friends, your family. Word of mouth is the biggest way to sort of get this around, because especially an older demographic, older population, they're not familiar with this. They don't pay as much attention to media and stuff like that. They don't know that this is happening. So they might get a text message, a phone call with somebody that's on the other end that's very demanding. And it puts people into a different state of mind. It makes them very concerned and worried, and especially in these low temperatures, if somebody's threatening to turn off your heat or your gas, obviously you're gonna be a little bit paranoid about that. And so we just want people to be aware. We want to educate consumers. These things happen. If you're concerned and you aren't sure if maybe I don't know, did I pay my bill? I thought I did, but maybe I didn't. Hang up with the person. Don't respond to the text message, and actually go to a statement that you have. Look up the actual company online. Call their customer service and confirm with them whether you have or you haven't, and get an actual answer to what's going on.
Yeah, very good. And then payment methods also seem to be a problem here too.
Yeah, so a lot of times when it's these high pressure tactics, they want you to either wire money, use gift cards, debit cards. These are all things that are red flags, because once you send those funds, a lot of times they're not recoverable, especially if you're wire transfer, peer-to-peer payment apps. We always tell people to pay with a credit card if you can. That way you have at least a little bit of financial protection and backing should you ever need to dispute something. But again, if somebody is really highly pressuring you, that's going to be the biggest red flag and telltale sign that this isn't legit. This is a scammer. They're trying to take advantage of you. And sometimes they get angry. And so in addition to being pushy and high pressure, they get upset when you kind of ask questions or tell them no. And they will try to have as much information as they can before they call you to seem more legit.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
High pressure. Don't give in to the high pressure
Yes.
anyway. And don't let anyone inside your house.
Yes.
I
That's
know
what
you
I'm
said
saying.
that.
If it's high
I mean,
pressure,
who does
somebody
that?
to your face to face, like it can be a little intimidating to like
Yeah.
shoo them away. Like how should somebody go shoo these people
So
away?
my personal opinion is just don't answer your door.
Right.
You are not
Right, I don't do
obligated
that
to answer
anyway.
I've had people come to my door and I can see it on my phone, my doorbell, and I'm like, I don't know you.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just keep on doing what I'm doing at my house. And I'm like, you're not obligated to answer your door for anyone. So
Right.
I just wouldn't.
Yeah.
Right.
No stranger danger.
stranger
No.
danger
You got to
here.
come into the front door.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Juliana O'Rourke from the Better Business Bureau warning us of utility scams and florist scams. So be careful out there, because those are two timely things that we are definitely on the watch out for. All right, Juliana, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be right back on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Back here now at 9:39 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal, wrapping up that one-on-one discussion about local scams and really scams that will affect Americans nationwide here for the next couple months with the cold weather and the holiday of Valentine's Day. We're also following national news, this in the way of Border Czar Tom Homan, who moments ago wrapped up a press conference out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, saying that he will be there until the problem is resolved. We're going to play this press conference for you now as he spoke publicly to Minnesotans and the country on the Department of Homeland Security. On Live Impact News on WCNC.
I've been given talking points, and I don't like reading speeches, never have, but my chief of staff did put some stuff down here in writing just to make sure I don't miss anything. So I'm going to be reading a little bit, then we're going to open up for questions. I've been on the ground less than 3 full days. I got in here Monday. President of the United States called me Monday morning and asked me to deploy here. Got here Monday evening, and I'm staying till the problem's gone. But we've made a lot of progress in the last 3 days. Marcos Charles, he's running ICE operations here. There you go. Rodney Scott, Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection, standing here beside me. Good morning, I'm Tom Homan, the Border Czar for President Trump. I'm here on behalf of the President, along with U.S. Commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Rodney Scott, and Marcos Charles, who's leading the enforcement effort here right now. I've been on the ground since Monday to regain law and order in the city beloved by many, and work together to remove threats from the community. During the past administration, we'll all remember, more than 10 million illegal aliens entered this nation. Many were national security threats, public safety threats. We can't remember we're 2 million known gotaways. 2 million people who paid more to get away. Why? That should scare the hell out of everybody. President Trump promised American people, including the residents of Minnesota, that he would work to ensure our communities are safe. And with that, this administration is absolutely focused on identifying removal aliens that pose a public safety threat and national security threats. And the numbers prove it. The data proves it. In the past few days, I've met with Governor Walz, Attorney General Ellison, Mayor Fry, numerous police chiefs and sheriffs, and I have more to meet. I'll also be continuing the dialogue with business and religious leaders in partnership with Minnesota, your community leaders. I'll be meeting with them too, because I want to hear what they have to say. In my meetings with folks so far, and most important, the governor and the AG, the Mayor Fry, we didn't agree on everything. I didn't expect to agree on anything. I've heard many people want to know why we're talking to people who they don't consider friends in administration. Bottom line is you can't fix problems if you don't have discussions. I didn't come to Minnesota for photo ops or headlines. You haven't seen me. I came here to seek solutions, and that's what we're going to do. And we've come a long way, and we got some good wins for the people of Minnesota, I think, and for the administration and for the safety and security of this city. One thing we did agree on, though, everybody I talked to agreed on, was that community safety is paramount. One thing we all agreed on was U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement is a legitimate law enforcement agency that has a duty to enforce the laws enacted by Congress and keep this community safe. Like I've said many times for the last several years, even before this administration, jurisdictions that refuse to cooperate with federal immigration authorities are sanctuaries for criminals. Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals, and endangers the residents of the community. To be clear, we did not agree with Minnesota state and local officials that they would be involved in immigration enforcement. I didn't ask them to be immigration officers. I asked them to be cops working with the cops to help us take criminal aliens off the street. What we did agree upon is not to release public safety arrests back in the community when they could be lawfully transferred to ICE. I'll speak more about that. I will highlight that the Minnesota State Prison System under the Department of Corrections have been honoring ICE detainers. And we appreciate the important collaboration, and we're going to expand upon that. That decision has made Minnesota safer, not only for residents of Minnesota, but the men and women law enforcement. Not just ICE, all law enforcement. Rather than arresting the same public safety threat, significant public safety threat over and over again, they agree to work with us to identify those people and remove them. I'm also pleased to announce I had a very good meeting with Attorney General Ellison, and he has clarified for me that county jails may notify ICE of the release dates of criminal public safety risks so ICE can take custody of them upon the release from the jail. And let me tell you why that's important. I know people are a lot concerned about the manpower has been set in law enforcement manpower. Look, I've said this many times before. I've said it for the last several years. Give us access to the illegal alien public safety threat and the safety and security of a jail. It's common sense. It's safer for the community, it's safer for the agent, and it's safer for the alien. Because anything can happen on a street arrest. It just makes common sense. And for the people that argue, well, we're a welcoming community because we want victims and witnesses of crime that are here illegally to feel safe to come to police without fear they're working with ICE, we're not going to talk to the victim and witness of crime. There's no problem there. They should feel safe to come to police and ask for help. All we want is to talk to the person that local and state law enforcement authorities locked in a jail cell. They chose to lock this person up. That's who we want to talk to, the public safety threat. So the argument is that protects victim witnesses of crime. It's a bunch of crap. Victims and witnesses of crime don't want the bad guy back in their neighborhood either. So great progress with the Attorney General and local sheriffs. And one thing, when we have these agreements, it takes less law enforcement agents to do the job. One agent can arrest one bad guy in the safety and security of a jail where he's behind the wire. We know we don't have weapons. But when you normally release that public safety threat, illegal alien back in the community, we have a job to do. We're going to arrest him. So we're going to find him. And what happens is now we got to arrest somebody on his turf. We have access to who knows what weapons. Now we got to send the whole team out. Cover the back door, cover the front door, officer safety reasons. Then because of the hateful rhetoric and the attacks on ICE officers, now we got to send a security team behind the arrest team. So what could have been done with one person in a safety and security jail, now we got 15, 16 people out there doing it. I know that causes stress in the community. So if we get these agreements in place, that means less agents on the street. More agents in the jail means less agents in the street. This is common sense cooperation that allows us to draw down on the number of people we have here. Yes, I said it. Draw down the number of people here. Because we have the efficiency and safety of the jails and the prison. Matter of fact, I have staff from CBP and from ICE working on a draw-down plan. What does that look like based on the cooperation? What does that look like based on how many targets we have left to find? In my meetings with Governor Walz, AG Ellison, and Mayor Fry, as well as state and local law enforcement. Again, I appreciate they all acknowledge that we do have federal immigration laws in this country that have been passed by Congress, and that ICE is in fact a legitimate law enforcement agency charged with enforcing those laws. We're not making this up, folks. ICE is enforcing laws enacted by Congress. They're a federal statute. That said, I'm not here because the federal government has carried this mission out perfectly. First thing I said to senior staff when I walked in here is what I told you earlier. I didn't come here looking for photo ops or headlines. I come here looking for solutions. I do not want to hear that everything's been done here has been perfect. Nothing's ever perfect, and anything can be improved on. And what we've been working on is making this operation safer, more efficient, by the book. The mission is going to improve because of the changes we're making internally. No agency or organization is perfect. And President Trump and I, along with others in the administration, have recognized that certain improvements could and should be made. That's exactly what I'm doing here. As such, in meetings I've had with federal law enforcement managers, including ICE and CBP and other federal partners, as well as state and local officials, I have conveyed the President's expectations with regard to federal immigration enforcement efforts. We will conduct targeted enforcement operations. Targeted. What we've done for decades. When we hit the streets, we know exactly who we're looking for. Good idea where we may find them. You have a criminal history. You have their immigration history. A lot of information about this person that we get from numerous databases out there. Targeted, strategic enforcement operations. That's traditionally been the case, and that's where we're going. That's what we're going to continue to do and improve upon that. With a prioritization on public safety threats. I want to be clear. I don't read a lot of social media. I don't read a lot of media. I don't believe half what I see. We are not surrendering the President's mission on immigration enforcement. Let's make that clear. Prioritization of criminal aliens doesn't mean that we forget about everybody else. That's just simply ridiculous. But when you have a criminal standing here and a non-criminal standing there, that criminal always should be targeted for because he's a significant concern to the safety and security of the community. By and large, for decades, ICE and CBP have carried out their duties with integrity, professionalism, and compassion. That remains the expectation of President Trump, and I will hold our agents and officers to that standard. I'm almost done, and Tom can be Tom. As far as the agitators, that said, I want to reiterate and make very clear. I want to make it clear. ICE and CBP officers are performing their duties in a challenging environment under tremendous circumstances. But they're trying to do it with professionalism. If they don't, they'll be dealt with. Like any other federal agency, we have standards of conduct. They are sworn law enforcement officers working tirelessly to enforce our country's border security, immigration laws, protecting the interests of our country and preventing dangerous people from walking the streets of this nation when they're not supposed to be here to begin with. Men and women of ICE, I was a Border Patrol agent. I was an ICE agent. I was the first ICE director that came up through the ranks. I spent over 40 years doing this. These men and women that carry that badge and gun are American patriots. They put themselves on the line for this nation every day. But I want you to remember, they don't hang their badge, they don't hang their heart on a hook every day they come to work. They're mothers and fathers too. They're sons and daughters too. And if they've seen a fraction of the tragedies I've seen in my career, they take a lot of damage home to every day. The things they've seen, especially on the border with Border Patrol agents. People drowning in the river. Women being raped by criminal cartels. Giving CPR to a baby that was thrown in the river by the cartels because Border Patrol came too close. So let's throw the baby in the river. That way the Border Patrol was concentrating on that so I can get away. These men and women see some terrible things. But I want you to remember, they're mothers and fathers too. Many of them are members of this community. God bless every one of them. The hostile rhetoric and dangerous threats and hate must stop. And we all agreed to that. All everybody met here today, we got to stop the rhetoric, the hateful rhetoric that has caused an increase in assaults. That has caused, because of that, having to send security teams out with arrest teams, which surge the city with additional resources because of the rhetoric, because of the threats, because of the assaults. Again, with the agreements we've achieved and following through the agreements, with the rhetoric dropping down, that allows us to pull more agents out once we feel the environment safer. I begged for the last 2 months on TV for the rhetoric to stop. I said in March if the rhetoric didn't stop, there's going to be bloodshed. And there has been. I wish I wasn't right. I don't want to see anybody die. Not officers, not members of the community, and not the targets of our operations. For the people out there that don't like what ICE is doing, if you want certain laws reformed, then take it up with Congress. Again, ICE is making this up. They're enforcing laws enacted by Congress and signed by the President. The same laws have been on the books for the last 6 presidents I worked for. I started with President Reagan and ending with President Trump. Every administration, we enforce the same laws. If you don't like what ICE is doing, instead of protesting this building, go to protest Congress. Tell me what changes. You have your First Amendment rights, I support that. You have the right to protest. I'm just asking you to keep it peaceful. But threatening law enforcement officers, engaging in impeding and obstruction and assault is never okay. And there will be zero tolerance. You interfere, impede, assault ICE officers, you will be arrested. Like I said a bit earlier in my meetings with Governor Walton, Ellison, and Frey, as well as state and local law enforcement, I appreciate they acknowledge this, that public safety should be paramount. The chiefs I've talked to committed to responding to 911 calls when protesters turn violent, agents are in a dangerous situation, and there's assaults. They have committed to upholding public safety and responding to the needs, not to enforce immigration law, but to keep the peace. With that, I call upon those officials to stand shoulder to shoulder with us to tone down the dangerous rhetoric and condemn all unlawful action against law enforcement in the community. There are many ways your voice can be heard, express your feelings, and affect change in the country without crossing that line. Political and other disagreements in this realm should not be at the expense of public safety or the safety of federal law enforcement officers. In closing, I want to thank the state and local officials here in Minnesota that I met with and the many I'm going to meet with. We've had meaningful dialogue. And look, again, we didn't agree on everything, but we agreed on the things I just talked about. There's much more we can do. And I'm going to continue this dialogue. I got many more community leaders to talk to. I got many more sheriffs to meet. President Trump wants this fixed, and I'm going to fix it with your help. I want to thank President Trump for his unwavering commitment to public safety and prosperity of every American. Under the President's leadership, we have the most secure border in the history of this nation, which means less women are being raped, less children are dying crossing that border, less fentanyl is getting in this country to kill Americans, less known suspected terrorists are crossing that country, and we don't have 2 million unknown gotaways. We don't know who the hell they are. A secure border, we have stronger national security. A secure border saves lives. When 96% less people come in, how many women aren't being sexually assaulted by members of the cartel? How many people aren't dying making that journey? How many Americans aren't dying of fentanyl overdoses? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked in this nation? The data proves it, and we can find that data. So God bless this great nation. God bless Minnesota. We can do better. And I think your local and state leaders meeting with me, we made some significant gains, significant coordination and cooperation, and you're going to see some massive changes occurring here in this city. Thank you.
Can you clarify what the rules of engagement are?
Hold on, right here.
Thank you so much, Mr. Holman.
That is Border Czar Tom Homan wrapping up a press conference out of Minneapolis. He is taking questions now from media. We will go back to that here, top of the hour at 10 o'clock on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus in 2 minutes. Time right now is 10:02 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, top of the hour. It is a Thursday, getting to the weekend, and for a lot of people, we're looking forward to the snow. Chris,
I feel like a hero.
You're feeling like what?
I feel like a hero.
You are. You're everybody's hero.
Because I wish I could go back and have all the messages of disappointment. Because we if you recall, we had a snow drought over 1,000 days.
Yes.
That we had no accumulating snow.
Right.
So people have pretty much been wishing, waiting ever since that happened. So finally,
It's here.
It's going to happen. I'm actually going to jump right ahead into graphics. Let's get today out of the way. Today, 41 degrees. Clouds increase for a cloudier day, and as you notice off yonder where we have a still shadowy turn over here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, there's still a lot of the sleet that's on the ground. So we still have a lot of patches of ice all over the place, and that's going to be problematic because the roads are still cold, so anything that we get is going to really flash freeze like right onto the surface. So today we increase the clouds. Will be a little bit of a break through the overnight, and then really we see that cloud cover take over heading into your Friday. Friday afternoon, I think it turns overcast. High temperatures in the lower 40s. We'll see some snow up in the mountains, so you're going to see your sizable snow really for most of the overnight Friday into Saturday morning. But Charlotte could be waiting until around sunrise until you really get your first snow. So just want everyone to know, if you wake up and you do not see a winter wonderland, you still have time. Don't worry about it. This is, I think, more of a mid-morning to mid-afternoon that we could see a good spurt of snow. So it really just depends before we start to see some changes overall. But the National Weather Service already is preparing 23.9 million people who are under this winter storm watch. That this is either going to be a winter storm warning or a winter weather advisory. For us, we'll all be under a winter storm warning just because of our pure snow totals where we're going to be. And I mentioned this yesterday. We're going to have a chance for a flash freeze. So whenever you get the first snow, we're so cold on the ground, it's instantly going to freeze. However, the NCDOT, because of the temperatures, will be in a good range of putting a lot of that brine down, which is going to help out. So the roads will be, I think, serviceable. But overall, our models are really starting to agree that we're going to see anywhere in the range of at least 2 to 4 inches. But there's a chance that we could see a little bit more just because about how fluffy this snow is going to be. So the best way to forecast meteorology is by going by percentages and probabilities. I've been checking these off throughout the morning. Yesterday we had 0.1 checked, meaning, hey, it's going to snow. That's 100%. Well, we're pretty much up to 100% for at least an inch of snow. And the reason why that's sizable is it's now been 1,470 days since January 21st, 2022. That was the last time that we actually had over an inch of snow. So that looks like we can check that one off. We're going to break that streak. Meanwhile, this morning, I also checked off the 2-inch mark. Well, I think that we're going to see at least a 2-inch mark. By the way, if we get 1 inch, that's the bust for the forecast, because really, all in all, we are looking at a chance for 2 to 5 inches of snow when all is said and done. So that's going to be substantial. 1 to 3 down to the southwest, but then there are going to be some of our friends over in Raleigh that I do think they have 6+ inches of snow. Same thing further up in the mountains. So this is sizable. But when was the last time that we did something like this? Well, it was back January 17th, 2018. So this is actually a video that I got from our file system of the actual snow event that happened where we had 3.9 inches of snow on this day. As you can see, everything is fairly snow covered. I think that was a little bit wetter snow, so things stuck a little bit better. But you're going to have this scenario plus one wicked turn. You're going to have a lot of gusty winds, where those gusty winds are going to be blowing that snow around, lowering visibility. Winds are actually whipping in the breeze pretty decently here. You're going to see a flag shot, I think, that comes up eventually. But yeah, it's all in all going to be there it is. But those winds are about 10 miles per hour. I'm talking about winds could gust as much as 25 to 30 miles per hour. So we could have some whiteout conditions. So even though we all love the snow, there's always still going to be some impacts that are associated with that. So I just want everyone to note that even though it's a winter wonderland, if you have to drive in this, it could be a little treacherous. For me, growing up in New England and working other TV markets such as Michigan and Ohio, this snow at one point to me was laughable. But now that I've been here, we know that when this happens, it does turn into pandemonium. The thing that really works out for us is a Saturday. So people shouldn't be doing too much. But those that do drive, I'm not worried about you driving. I'm worried about other people driving. It's always defensive here, even when it rains. So I just want people to note that we are going to be anywhere from a moderate to a major impact. And what that simply means is that you're either going to have some closures or a bunch of things are going to be closed for your Saturday. There's also several big things, like there's a Checkers game, there's a Hornets game at 3. So I don't think you cancel an entire NBA game because it's snowing outside. So I just want people to know that there will be some snow if you're going to be going to those. So just kind of watch it. I think NCDOT, since this is going to be really a slow snowfall adding up over time, is going to do a good job getting things out of the way. And fluffy snows are great because they're not the back-breaking snow, so it's easy to shovel out of the way. And hey, some of the snow, the wind might do that anyway. So still a moderate to a major impact that at times, the roads are going to be extremely hazardous, but just use extreme caution if you are indeed forced to hit the roads. So check it out. Here's our winter weather impact timeline. Really, it's anywhere through any time in the morning into the afternoon you're going to have impacts. But I think it's at its highest level, really either side of noon, especially as we start to pick up the winds. And the winds really start to crank up late afternoon. At that point, I think heading into the evening, we will have a slight chance for maybe a couple of down branches with gusts of 35, and there could be some isolated power outages. So I'm not going to discount that. It's not as widespread of an issue as it was with the ice storm, but people need to know that is do not get caught off guard. I think it's the usual preparations. As you see, we don't have anything in the extreme or the magenta colors saying, oh, watch out, I'll cry into the hills. This is just a very light snowfall that was over time that I think a lot of kids are going to enjoy. We saw people sledding on everything everything when there was ice. So this is going to be a good maximum. And a little bit more science behind this. When you have temperatures about 22 to 26, the way things are factoring in, that's a higher snow ratio. So if we had an inch of moisture, we would be talking about 15 to 17 inches of snow. But this is a moisture-starved system that we could potentially see drier air that keeps us close to that 2-inch mark. So that's why I want people still to hedge their bets. But 2 inches, I'm betting on. That it's the 4s, the 5s that still could kind of be a little bit more intermittent. But I think some parts of our area are indeed going to get those. But those wind gusts will easily be blowing some of that lighter snow around, especially late day, as I mentioned. I think the worst of the gusts are going to be really heading into the evening. That's where you have gusts over 40 miles per hour up in the high country, where you're certainly going to be seeing some almost blizzard-like conditions. So for the guy roofing, I reverted. The Jerry Hunt Supercenter 7-day forecast said that one for over a year. Just letting you know that I think some of the bigger issues that we're going to have is behind this system, because we're going to have a low of 15 on Sunday and a low of 8 degrees on Monday. And I said this yesterday. I had 10. I said that might be too warm. Moved down to 8. I might move it as low as 6 degrees depending on how much snow we get. The last time we were that cold was 9 degrees on December 24th, 2022. And I know for a fact that JT's school, half the building had burst pipes. So this is going to be a major issue. I think that the way you have a cold grounds, we have it's only 14 degrees on Tuesday, which is still technically the coldest we've been so far in a couple of years. And then we even are looking at the 50s to return the end of the following week. So yeah, it's not a great situation there. I think the best thing is there's no such thing as bad weather. It's just bad preparation. So if you are just going out and about, not being cautious, it's not going to be a good Saturday for you. But if you take advantage of it, why not? And
Could be fun.
It could be a lot of fun. And you could also go out and maybe make some snow cream. Has anyone ever done this?
I saw this on TikTok.
Mama Thompson, so Ben Thompson's mom, wrote in when she wrote on the plus that I guess 6 cups of fresh snow, 1 cup of milk. Some people use evaporated milk, 1/3 to a 1/2 cup of sugar, a 1/2 cup of salt, and then 1 to 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. And then that's how you can make it. But I don't want to ruin it for you. Just letting you know, all snow forms on something that's called ice nuclei, which essentially is either a speck of dust, a speck of dirt, a speck of pollution, or a speck of pollen.
So dirt ice cream.
So essentially,
That could
but
be a
it's minuscule. But
Hey,
yeah,
you
but
know, I made dirt.
It's
that's
good
my
for the-
meteorological warning for you that technically all snow is a little dirty.
All right.
Yeah.
It helps with building our immunity.
Hey,
Yeah.
I know that as a parent very much so.
That's the plus of that. The footage you showed, that was 2018, right?
2018. So that's essentially the crazy thing here is it's been 4 years since we've had 1 inch. Now we're talking about a chance for the biggest snow we've had in 8 years here in Charlotte. 8 years. I know.
Wow.
That's actually when I started here at WCNC, 2018.
Oh, just in time. And I started in 2022.
Okay.
And that week when I came in, January, or that month, I should say, I think it was 3 sizable, measurable
It was.
snowfalls.
Yeah, it was a 2-inch, 1.1, and then a 0.2, I think was the last one.
Oh, my dear. I thought, what did I sign up for?
And what's kind of crazy is that this pattern is reoccurs. Actually, like we kind of just cracked a code here. So 2018, there was back-to-back weekends that we actually had snow. In 2022, it wasn't necessarily weekends. It was back snow events in weeks. I think it was a Saturday, a Wednesday, and a Sunday. But now, here in 2026, we technically had snow flurries in Raleigh, then we had the ice storm, and now we have this. So it's still coming in
weekend
3s
after
or
weekend.
3 winter chances. So yeah.
Okay. Wow, look at that.
So
Move over, Da Vinci Code.
I know, right?
This is the snow code.
And we do have one more precipitation chance. It's the following Thursday, but we don't have to worry about that. We'll see how this one pans out first.
Okay.
Okay.
We have footage from Larry. This is
Yes.
when was this?
This was last year.
Oh.
When it was less than an inch. He was out there trying to...
Make a snowman.
This is 2025 is what he told me. I got an email from Larry this morning, and he sent me all these videos. And whenever I
cute.
get an email from Larry, it's a privilege.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? So he sent this to me. This is from last year.
This was event. We actually had 4 different snows of last year. One of them was a ½ inch. I actually have a graphic that I built on this.
Okay.
We built a lot of graphics on here. Let me see.
Sorry, little snowman. Sorry. Like,
I know.
He wants it
That
so
was it. He
bad.
wanted it.
I don't know
And
what
that-
date it was. We had in 2025 we had 1.2 inches of snow combined across 4 different events: 0.5, 0.3, 0.2, and 0.2.
Okay.
So that one right there, I think likely was the January 10th one.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Well, it was, I guess, better than nothing for
Yeah.
people who wanted some snow.
Yeah, and even though it is a little fluffier snow, this is a snow I think if you still compact it, especially with warm hands, you'll be able to make a nice snowball. With the gloves, I think it might a lot of it might break up in the air the way things are trending, but the warmth of your hands allows more moisture and compacts
packed.
it. So you might have cold hands, but you're gonna ream people with snowballs.
Looking forward to
later
that.
today, we're going to be talking to Sam Walker over in the Outer Banks.
Oh, Sam Walker, all right.
And I know I saw on the map you said
Oh,
6
yeah,
to 8
6 to
inches
8
of
eastern.
Raleigh, but what about the coast?
The beaches.
The coast is a little tricky because I think they could see snow, but they're kind of right on the rain-snow line.
Okay.
So they actually might have a mix of everything. I still think they see snow. The biggest issue is the winds.
Right.
So they're going to be talking about wind gusts potentially as high as 75 miles per hour. So that's going to be a big deal, especially with winds out of the northeast. And that's why it's called the nor'easter, because winds come from the northeast, not just because it impacts the northeast. So they could be dealing with some erosion issues up there. We're so focused on here that we just got to hope that it's not that big and bad, because this is going to be a solid low pressure system as they're seeing a bomb cyclone. That there will be some beach erosion there too. So Highway 12 might have some problems.
Okay.
All right.
I'll tell Sam you said hi.
Okay. Hi, Sam.
And we'll be right back on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. At 10:18 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, Border Czar Tom Homan in Minneapolis this week, saying he's going to stay there and see this situation, calling it a problem after the latest shooting last weekend of an ICU nurse by ICE agents. I want to get you back to the portion where Czar Homan is now answering questions from the media. We'll play this out for you here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
With the Associated Press, based on how you have described these changes in the mission, can you be more specific about the objectives of Operation Metro Surge if what you have described changes the parameters for interior enforcement only in Minnesota or also in Maine and other places? And finally, when will you consider that those objectives will be achieved and this operation will end? Or is it in terms of agents on the ground, in terms of who you are targeting for arrests?
The withdrawal of law enforcement resources here is dependent upon cooperation. Like I said, one agent arresting one bad guy in jail means less agents on the street. We have some agreements. We got more to talk about how we're going to implement those agreements. But as we see that cooperation happen, then the redeployment will happen. Look, target enforcement operations should happen across the nation. That's what we've done for decades. And with target enforcement operations, I've done many of them. It just makes it safer for everybody. When we know exactly what we're looking for, what is his criminal history, what is his immigration history, where does he live, is he in an apartment complex versus a house, has he got a known record for having weapons, it's safer for everybody. Then we know what type of resources we need to go. And it just makes this operation cleaner, more efficient, and it's proven less violence when we know exactly what we're getting into and we can take the necessary precautions to keep everybody safe. Some of the operations that I've been involved in, we know there's children in the house based on surveillance. So we know you got to be a little bit different when you go into the house because there's going to be children present. So target enforcement operations, the way we've always done it, I think we got away from a little bit. And we want to make sure we do target enforcement operations. And look, I will say it again, we are not surrendering our mission at all. We're just doing it smarter.
Shimon Prokopez from CNN. Mr. Holman, how did we get here in terms of you had Greg Bovino, who was the face of this immigration operation, the mission, as you say, to having border patrol agents in the interior of this country, stopping U.S. citizens, asking them for ID, creating this fear in places like Chicago and now here. And then finally, it took really the death of Alex Petty for us to get here. How did that happen? Who made the decisions to allow this kind of operation to proceed in this way and to create such fear?
Well, look, the Border Patrol, in the last 4 years under Joe Biden, we had an open border where 10, 12,000 people a day are coming across the border. Border Patrol got overwhelmed, which means we sent thousands of ICE agents down there to help deal with that humanitarian crisis, to help secure the border. Now we have millions of people released in this nation, many unvetted. Now we got to find them. Before the big, beautiful bill, we had a total just under 5,000 deportation officers to look for millions of people, many in public safety threats. So yes, we needed Border Patrol to come and help on our mission now. And the reason for the massive deployment is because of the threats, because of the violence. Our officers need to be protected. If I'm on an operation, an arrest team, I'm going to a house, I got to be busy with that guy, the dangerous guy, and I can't keep looking over my shoulder at what's happening outside the house. So we brought extra resources in to provide that security. And as I said, as we drilled down on these great agreements we got and this great understanding we have means less. So we can draw down those resources. When the violence decreases, we can draw down those resources. But based on the discussions I've had with the governor and the AG, we can start drawing down those resources as far as those looking for public safety threats being released and do it in the jail with much less people. So the drawdown is going to happen based on these agreements. But the drawdown can happen even more if the hateful rhetoric and the impediment and interference will stop. So Border Patrol, I was a Border Patrol agent, these men and women are patriots. God bless them, they're here to help us. And the drawdown will come soon depending on when this actually, I see this in play. But the agreements to have alone is going to cause a significant drawdown. So you're going to see a drawdown.
Just on a personal, you've been doing this for 40 years. Just a follow-up.
Ben, go ahead.
First off, Ben Burkbaum, Real America's Voice News. On behalf of the American people, I just want to say thank you to you and to all of the agents that are putting their lives on the line to go after the people that were allowed in the last administration. We watched that happen in the media, the honest media, covered up by many of the media that are behind me. We want to say thank you, and to all the men and women that are out there. Can you talk to us about what's being done with the leadership on these signal chats, on these WhatsApp chats that are organizing the attacks against you, the obstruction against you? Are we going to be arresting those individuals as well? And to the folks out there in America that voted for this, that want mass deportations because they saw a mass invasion under Joe Biden, what would you say to them? How are we going to get to that point?
Well, first of all, about the organization and the funding of the attacks on ICE. I'm not going to answer a lot about that because I'm not going to show our hand, but they'll be held accountable. Justice is coming. Again, we got to all remember why the questions we've seen and why we're here. What started this? 4 years of an open border, where millions of people are letting this country unvetted. Remember, let's not forget, for 4 years we were told the border was secure. 4 years we were told the border was secure, and we all knew it wasn't. And I want this to be a positive thing we're doing here today. I also want to remember the politicians are continually attacking us. Where were they the last 4 years when the number of women and children sex trafficking went all-time high? Where were they when 250,000 Americans died from fentanyl coming across the border? Where were they when women and children are dying making that journey? Where were they when over 4,000 aliens making that journey died? Historic record. Where were they? Not a word. Now we're just trying to respond to what happened the last 4 years and keeping this country safe. And we're arresting a lot of public safety threats, take them off the streets, which make this country safer. President Trump promised to make this country safe again, and that's what we're doing. But my 2.5 days up here, we made a lot of progress. I think everybody agrees on the criminal and public safety threats. They agree it's much safer and easier to arrest an alien in a facility than send a whole team out in the field that's going to draw anger, because now we got to send a bunch of people to do something that could have been done by 1 or 2 people. And I've said this for years. I have no ill will to anybody in Minnesota. All the people I talk to, we're never going to agree on everything. We have different philosophies and different opinions on immigration, but we all agree this is a way to go to reduce safety, reduce crime, not reduce safety, reduce crime and increase safety for our operations. More people in the jail means less people on the street. It's simple math.
Sir, Lana Zach, CBS News. Everybody I've spoken with agrees that if somebody has a violent criminal history and is a fugitive, they don't want them as their neighbor. But when you're talking about a targeted operation, and are you talking about targeting people whose crime is coming to this country, or is it a more specific definition now?
All operations will be targeted, but the prioritization are going to be criminal aliens, public safety threats, and national security threats. I've met with Marcos and his staff. We got a lot of them. We got a lot of them to keep us busy. So that would be our focus.
So that is enough that's what, there is not going to be a focus on people who have no other crimes except for their status.
If you're in the country illegally, you're never off the table. But prioritization doesn't mean but you forget about everybody. So let me say this. If the message we send is you can enter this country illegally, it's a crime, don't worry about it. You can have your due process, show up in court, not show up in court, get ordered removed, don't worry about it. Unless you commit a serious crime, you're good to go. If that's the message we send to the world, you're never going to fix this problem. The most vulnerable people in the world will make that dangerous journey like they did under the Joe Biden administration. Over 4,000 aliens died making that journey. And again, a significant increase in sex trafficking. Because when they did that, and open those borders up saying, we're not going to detain you, we're going to give you free health care, we're going to fly you to the city of your choice, put you in a free hotel room, give you 3 meals a day, and give you work authorization, we're just going to bring you in. And when they did that, they sent a message to the whole world, you can come and do this. And what happened? They overwhelmed the men and women of the Border Patrol, where many days 70% of agents were pulled off that line. 70%. You don't think the criminal cartels had a field day with that? They created gaps for the cartels do their activity. And that's why you've seen the rise in fentanyl overdose. That's why you saw the rise in sex trafficking. The 2 million plus known gotaways, why did they pay more to get away? Why didn't they pay less, turn yourself in, get released within 24 hours? You get a free airline ticket to the city of your choice. We're going to give you a free hotel room, and we'll give you free food and free medical care. And you're going to get work authorization in 6 months. Why did 2 million people choose to pay more not to take advantage of that giveaway program? They didn't want to be vetted. They didn't want to be fingerprinted. That scares the hell out of me, and it does still. The Trump administration with ICE and Secretary Noem and Marco Rubio and the intelligence community, Tulsi Gabbard, we're all working together to try to identify who these people are, and we've already found many of them. But it's hard work to do. But there are national security threats walking this nation because of the last administration, and they are one of our main priorities too.
Thank you. Can you please be specific about how many ICE and how many Border Patrol agents are currently operating in the state?
I think we're near 3,000. There's been some rotations. Another thing I witnessed when I came here, I'll share this with you. I met with a lot of people, a lot of the agents. They've been in theater. Some of these people have been in theater for 8 months. So there's going to be rotations of personnel. Hopefully less now that we have some agreements. Maybe we can make it more efficient and safe. But they've been in theater a long time, and so there's rotations happen all the time to get people out of here and go home, get some rest, and see their families. Day after day, you can't eat in restaurants. Day after day, having people spit on you and blow whistles at you. Day after day, having all these threats at you. Day after day, having people trying to interfere with you. Day after day, they're human. So we've got to rotate these people, and we've already rotated some. But my main focus now is drawdown, based upon the great conversations I've had with your state and local leaders. Again, I'm not a fool. I'm not walking away without seeing this put in place. But I take the word of the people I met with. I think they're honest, and I think they're good brokers, that they want public safety protected, and they also want what's happening in the city to go away. And that's my goal.
Last question in the back.
Muller Newsmax. The new video of Alex Preddy is now circulating. Your reaction to that, and do you think law enforcement could have played a role if, like, let's say, Minneapolis police were able to respond to that? Have those top law enforcement officials said they'll help or do anything to help these agents who are out here?
I'm not going to comment on any of these shootings. I said from day one, I said on any of these shootings, as a career law enforcement officer, we'll let the investigation roll out. Let the investigation play out, and let it go where it goes. I'm not going to come out and make any comments that I think is right, wrong. Do I have an opinion? Yeah, my personal opinion, but I'm not going to share that with you. I'm going to tell you, let the investigation play out and see where it goes. But again, the president, one of the words he said to me when I came up here, he said he didn't want to see anybody die. The less interference, the less rhetoric, the less, I have buried Border Patrol agents and I buried ICE agents throughout my career, and the saddest thing I've ever done is hand a folded flag to a wife or a child. I don't want to see anybody die, even the people we're looking for. I don't want to see anybody die. And despite what people think of Tom Homan, I say a prayer every night that everybody goes home safe. This isn't good. But I think my conversations the last 2.5 days are leading us to a safer community, letting ICE officers operate in the safety and security of a jail more than on the street. I think anybody here with common sense would say it's safer to arrest a public safety threat in the safety and security of a jail. And let me tell you, what is that going to result in? Less collateral arrests. When we go find that bad guy, when we find that bad guy, many times it's with others. Well, guess what? They're in the country illegally. We're going to enforce immigration law. They're coming too. You want less collateral arrest? Let's in the jail. But we're going to enforce immigration law. For the people to say we're here to surrender our authority and the mission of enforcing immigration law, you are wrong. We're going to do targeted enforcement operations, and we're going to prioritize the public safety threats and national security threats. That is what we're here to do.
Sir, no more questions. Go ahead. No more questions, guys. Thank you.
And that was Border Czar Tom Homan in Minneapolis, wrapping up his press conference earlier this morning. We're going to take a quick break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. At 10:37 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Want to take you out live right now out to Virginia. This is Fairfax County. It is the trial of Brendan Banfield, who is facing charges for aggravated murder and this complex plot to kill his wife in order to be with his au pair. This is Brendan Banfield. It appears he is on the stand right now. Let's listen in.
And I kind of only did a quick glance, seeing that Juliana was there, and then I continued up the stairs.
And did you give her any instructions as to whether to go back to the basement?
I didn't say anything to her.
Okay. So you continued on?
Yes.
But you realized she was there?
I did.
What, if anything, did you do next?
I continued up the stairs and made a left towards the master bedroom.
Okay. And in terms of the landing where the master bedroom is located, describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what way you had to go from the top of the stairs.
I went to the left, as that's the way towards the master bedroom. There's double doors to the master bedroom. To the right would be a bathroom, the guest room, Valerie's bedroom, and Juliana's bedroom.
So you went left at this point?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you do at that point outside the room?
Outside the room, I headed towards the door, and I pushed the right of the double doors open with my foot.
And did you otherwise have something in your hands?
Yes, I had my firearm in my hands.
Okay. And when you pushed with your foot, which foot was it?
My right foot.
Okay. And were you able to see or hear any more when you did that?
Pushing the door open with my right foot revealed Christine, and who I now know is Joseph Ryan. They were on the floor near the bottom left of my bed, kind of in front of the master bathroom door, just past the bed, in between the bed and the tall dresser.
Okay. So you just described it as the bottom left. Describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, how do you come to bottom left? What position are you in order to describe it that way? If you're in the bed.
Yes, if you were in the bed or facing the TV that's in there, the left would be the bottom left corner. That would be the part that's closest to the master bathroom.
Okay, thank you. And so you indicated you saw Joseph Ryan and Christine.
Yes.
Had you ever seen Joseph Ryan before?
I had never seen Joseph Ryan before.
Had you ever had any communications with him before?
On February 24th is the only time I had communications with him in that room.
Okay, so when you observed this, and please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury exactly what you observed with regard to his contact with Christine.
Christine was, I would describe as nude and on all fours, on her hands and knees, and Joe Ryan was behind her, like angled slightly behind her, and from my position at the door, slightly to the left of her. He was clothed, and he was looking directly at me as I opened the door.
And when you first caught eye contact with him, where exactly were you in relation to the bed, and where were they?
No, I was maybe one step into the room.
Okay. Now, when you observed him, what, if anything, did you observe about the situation prior to anything being said?
I observed, basically, as soon as I went in the room, it appeared that Christine tried to get up, but I guess I'm unsure if it's that Christine tried to get up or if Joe Ryan pulled her up. It's hard. I can't really tell, but Christine went from being on all fours, hands and knees, to more like being on her knees.
Now, had you said anything to them or to him specifically?
Almost immediately, I said police.
Okay, and what was your intention in doing that?
Alerting the room that I was there.
Okay, and at the time that you said police, was your gun in plain sight?
Yes, I was holding my gun forward.
And your badge, was that in plain sight?
My badge is on my belt, so that I don't know if he could see it, but it is a gold badge that is attached to my belt.
And so, if you think of it as a clock around you, where would, at what point can you describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury where your badge would be?
Like 11 o'clock. Okay. So just to kind of in front of my left pants pocket.
Okay. And were you wearing a jacket over that area?
I was wearing a jacket that day.
Do you know if it was covering it or not?
No, I don't know if it was covering it at that moment. I don't remember if my jacket was zipped or not, and it's February, so
okay.
I'm not sure if my jacket is zipped or not.
In terms of seeing the badge, you didn't pull it out and show it or anything?
I did not.
While that picture is frozen, we're going to shake loose here for a couple of minutes on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. At 10:47 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, we get you back out to Fairfax County, Virginia, the trial of Mr. Banfield, who is on the stand. He is speaking in his murder trial right now and well underway. Let's go back to it on Live Impact News.
Now, when you said police, what, if anything, did Joe Ryan say to you?
Joe Ryan didn't say something until after I told him to drop the knife.
Okay. And what was his response?
He told me to drop my gun.
And at that point, was there, well, let me ask you this. You saw a knife there. What were you thinking in terms of Joe Ryan with a knife to Christine's neck?
I was extremely terrified. I don't know that I've ever been more panicked in my life.
And so what were you thinking that you needed to do?
I was hoping to de-escalate the situation. I did not want to shoot him. I wanted him to let her go.
And so after he said you dropped the gun, what did you say?
I repeated to drop the knife and to let her go.
And did he say anything to you?
He did. He told me that she was hers, that she was hers, and that she gave herself to me. And Christine kind of yelled, moaned at this point also.
Okay, I'm sorry, you said she was hers?
She was his, sorry. She was his.
Can you say the whole statement?
He said that she was his and that she gave herself to him, to me, is what, she gave herself to me is what he said.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I interrupted. What happened then?
Christine kind of yelled or moaned, or both, and it seems that she went to her left, my right, a little bit.
Okay. Now, when she yelled or moaned, what did that indicate to you?
I thought that she was being injured, being stabbed.
Did you see him stab her?
It appeared that he was putting forward movement towards, or it seemed that he was putting forward movement towards with the knife, but I couldn't see Christine's neck or face really at that point. Her hair was in the way.
Okay. So if you can, explain for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury why it was you couldn't see Christine's face or her neck.
Christine's hair was, I would describe as kind of wild at this point. Not normally it's brushed and straight, or, well, not really, I mean, it's still curly, but, it's more kept. It was kind of large and frizzy at this point, and I couldn't really see very well.
Okay. And so I interrupted you. So well, go ahead and tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you were following up with.
All right, we'll get back to that trial. We need to take another break here at 10:52 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. At 10:54 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, let's squeeze out a few more minutes of the au pair murder trial with Mr. Banfield on the stand here on Live Impact News.
Very quickly in the situation, but there's only his head isn't far from Christine's head. I guess his part of his body is partially behind Christine's body. Part of his body is behind the bed. It's a very tight situation.
Okay. And so you delayed from your first instinct?
Judge, objection is to leading.
What, if anything, did you do then?
I was sustaining the objection.
I know that I told him to let her go at least one more time, and then I know that I told him that he was going to be under arrest.
Okay.
I missed that. At some point, he asked for me to leave, and at a different point, he asked for himself to leave.
And what did you say to those requests?
At that point, that was when I told him that he was under arrest.
Okay. Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what, if anything, took place that caused you to discharge your firearm?
It appeared that he did a very forceful stab towards Christine, and Christine kind of spun away from him. So she was facing towards me, and I guess she rotated as she spun away from him and landed on her stomach on the ground. This kind of had Joe now on his knees, kind of facing Christine, of which I saw him do a downward stabbing stroke, and that's when I fired at him.
And when you fired, were you able to determine whether or not you made contact?
I didn't know where I made contact, but I believed that I made contact as he moved.
Okay.
He moved backwards, He moved backwards a little bit away from Christine. At that point.
And what did you do?
I immediately hurried towards Christine, and I actually stepped over her, and I told her to stay down as I stepped over her.
All right, we got to let you go here as we come up at 11 o'clock. We will keep tabs and follow this au pair murder trial here in the days to come. Charlotte Today is up next. Have a great day.